I was born here and I've always lived here. When I was very young, I worked in Hackney Road in a wholesale tobacco and confectionery place. And then I went in the army, 18, done my national service. When I come out, I went back there and they said, you know the area, would you like to be a rep? So I became a rep and I stayed there for about 10 years. And then one day I suddenly got fed up with it and I applied for a chauffeur's job. That was in Carpenter's Road. It was then Jensen and Nicholson, the paint company, but was taken over by Berger Paints. And I got the job of driving the chairman.
So Douglas, tell me, how have you seen this area change over the years?
Obviously, it's changed by the amount of immigrants that we've got into the area. People that, how can I say, are not true Cockneys. In different parts of the country they come from, they're young office workers and much, much more traffic than whenever I was driving. When I was driving, I mean, I haven't actually driven for going on 20 years now, and I don't want to.
So Douglas, can you tell us a bit about the Carpenter's Road that you know?
Carpenter's Road itself was always known as Stink Road because there was Yardley's, the scent people, and there was a place where they boiled up bones. And I think Oxo was down there as well. Absolutely terrible, the smell of everything. You went from one to another, and it was always known as a really smelly road. It was a really rubbish road. I mean, like we had the factory there, and then you go on a little bit, then there was a gap. There wasn't houses down there. There was no houses down there at all. People would park cars and leave cars there, abandon them.
So where did your job take you in the day?
Mostly the West End or the city. But my boss, usually he went to a meeting in the city and then would have lunch, probably in the West End, maybe the Dorchester or somewhere like that.
And what was he like?
Oh, well, you see, it was the chairman, and they were all very, very good to me. In fact, I had one boss who would say to me, now, I've got a speech I've got to do tonight for the young farmers. Have you got a joke about young farmers? And I'd have to tell him a joke. He knew I knew loads of jokes, and I used to tell him a joke, and he'd, yes, OK, I'll have that. He always sat in the front, they never sat in the back.
What car were you driving?
A Jaguar.
And were you in uniform?
Well, I had a grey suit and I had a cap, but I didn't always have to put the cap on. I used to get a suit roughly every 18 months. That was quite good because, I mean, it never wore out, really. And you got a Mac or overcoat. And overnight, which was working, say about certainly 3 nights a week, that you took them for dinner, and then the fact that I lived here, I could be home in 20 minutes. So I was getting paid for sitting indoors watching the telly, and then I went back to pick them up at a certain time. But my boss, or one in particular, he was an absolute, well, he would be the last one out because he drunk like a fish, and I used to more or less shovel him into the car. He used to get on my nerves because on the way back he lived at Chislehurst, and he'd say to me, what are we doing tomorrow, Douglas? And I'd say, so-and-so and so-and-so. I would tell him. Another 5 minutes, he'd say, oh, what are we doing tomorrow, Douglas? And after a while, I really got fed up, and I said, I've told you 4 times. I thought, oh, what am I saying? Like, you know? And he said, oh, sorry, yes. But he used to be out of it. I mean, literally, he was gone. But when you was in, you cleaned the car and done various things like that. But just, I mean, no one chased you up and said, you've got to be doing this, you've got to be doing that. That was it. I was a chauffeur and I can't have a cup of tea. One of them lived at Westerham in Surrey. And when I drove him home, he'd always say, oh, come in, Douglas, and have a drink before you go. And he always used to amuse me because he used to pour himself a large whiskey and say, why don't you have a light owl? He never asked me if I wanted a whiskey. But no, they were all quite pleasant that I drove, were all very pleasant.